My next guest would call this sacred fat. Exercise and food guru Richard Simmons would never say don't eat popcorn because he knows that completely depriving yourself is a sure way to regain those precious lost pounds. He'd say go ahead, but keep it to a half cup. He is one of the original weight loss and fitness experts, blazing onto the scene in the 70s. The weight saint turned watching calories into a high-energy positive event. Nearly 20 years later, with a new low-fat cookbook on the shelves, the 48-year-old's energy seems amazingly constant.
Monica, Monica, Jaws gets Monica. Da 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 da. Oh, Monica, certainly can, Monica.
He greeted the noon hour as if it were morning, ignoring the 5 or 6 nonstop hours he already had spent around town promoting his book.
Leona's my lens. She makes me look swell. Hello, Leona. How are you?
No one escaped Richard Simmons' pre-interview aerobic workout.
I met Ron. Yeah, Ron's a football player. See, Ron, he can really, you know.
By the time we sat down, I needed some replenishing.
Oh, so she gets the pretty salad, huh? I get the field of greens here.
But it's all part of Richard Simmons' mission to the overweight.
And it's up to me to try to boost their self-esteem, to blow positive air inside their body and say, hold it a minute. Don't let those people screw around with your mind. You're a miracle. You're whatever shape you are, you're a miracle. You're alive. You have life. You're breathing. You get up in the morning. But I want you to take care of yourself.
He talks the talk and walks the walk because Richard Simmons has been a fatty.
And I never exercised in my life. You know, back then when I went to school, PE was the girls played volleyball. Yeah. The tall ones got picked.
That's correct.
And the guys played football and baseball. And I sat on the sideline eating fried bologna sandwiches, barbecue potato chips, and Milky Ways. I mean, that was my existence. You know.
Milton Teagle Simmons was a fat kid growing up in the 50s in New Orleans. Decades later, it's still an emotional subject.
It's horrible.
Didn't they used to call you Waddle?
Well, they called me Penguin because I waddled. Because when you're overweight and your feet pronate, and you really can't balance too well. You know, I never rode a bike. I never, you know, did the things that most kids do because being overweight really does limit you.
How did your parents handle you being overweight? Were they aware that you were an overeater? You were a compulsive eater?
When you, in the 40s and 50s, it was baby fat. It's baby fat. Oh, you'll lose the weight. You know, you lose the weight.
By the time he was 20, Richard stood 5'7" and weighed more than 250 pounds. Even as a kid, he dieted, but the weight always came back. Not surprisingly, a crisis followed.
One day, someone left a note on my car. And it was raining that day, very hard. And I walked over to my car, and there was a note on the windshield, dripping wet with the ink running down on the glass. And I grabbed the note when I got in the car, and I opened it up, and it said, "Dear Richard, you're very funny, but fat people die young. Please don't die."
So he starved himself for more than 2 months and lost more than 100 pounds.
I went from a 48-inch waistline to a 26, and I ended up in the hospital half dead. Now I had to come to grips with, Milton Teagle Simmons, what are you going to do with your life? You know, you grew up in a body you didn't want. You then lost your health. And even though you were thin and skinny, it still wasn't what you wanted. What do you have to do? So that took me to the library.
How hard are you working?
These days, shelves groan under the weight of all the diet and exercise videos and books available. But in the 70s, it was pretty much Jane Fonda and Richard Simmons. His self-taught diet and nutrition lessons became a year-long bestseller. By then, he had opened a restaurant and exercise studio in Beverly Hills, and TV was next.
Mrs. Shirley Simmons, Mr. Sal Pacino, Mrs. Pauline.
Videos soon followed. His mother, mothers and fathers of other celebrities shared the message of good health, and it seemed the public could not get enough of the wacky, weird Richard Simmons.
But have you ever thought of going on stage and just
singing your heart out.
But when I go to the malls, I turn that mall into a theater. I bring my song. It's my party and I'll eat if I want to. You would eat, say love. When I began doing the videos, and I used real music, everyone uses that kind of canned elevator music. And so when I bought songs like Wooly Bully and Stop in the Name of Love and all these great songs that you and I both know all the words to, I can begin a lyric. Okay, everybody's doing a brand new dance now. Come on, baby, do the locomotion.
Again. Have that fun.
Richard's book and video sales have always been very strong. At one estimate, he sold 7 million tapes in 7 years. And whether it's Richard Simmons' low-fat or no-fat cookies available at Walmart, or a cruise to lose trip.
Thank you for calling Richard Simmons Cruise to Lose. Richard's next cruise to lose will be April 26th to May 3rd, sailing from Miami.
Richard seems to have his marketing bases covered.
It's Monica and me in the kitchen.
And now he's in the kitchen with his new Farewell to Fat cookbook.
It's getting hot in this kitchen. I think there's a fire in here. In the book, I tell you how to take a dish like jambalaya and make it delicious, but make sure that instead of having 60 grams of fat in it, it only has four. And one of the secrets is in the chicken broth. So what I did here is I take a little teeny bit of cooking spray, just a little to coat it. Okay. Just like to coat, summer me, winter me.
Turkey sausage is another low-fat trick, and all the while, pour in that chicken broth.
So all these flavors are getting to know you, getting to know you, getting to all about you. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
No Tabasco, man.
Wait a moment, I put that in now she wants my recipe. I write the Fakakta book, now she's saying, farewell to Monica. I mean, I don't know what she's doing here.
Very nice work.
Monica liked it.
Just pass the Tabasco. Thank you.
He's developed a food code he lives by. No eating before bedtime. He calls a halt at least 3 hours before. He seldom eats out because temptation is too high. And when he's on the road...
You know, every place has a breast of chicken. Every place has a baked potato. Every place has vegetables. But if you open that menu, you get like into a coma. You know, the appetizers, then you start saying, let's order something for the table. Well, tables don't eat. You know, it's just, instead of saying, I want 4 appetizers, you say, let's order some for the table.
But the biggies are...
Number 1, no eating while watching TV.
Oh, not even a snack, popcorn?
No, because you become a robot. You're not eating, you're entertaining. It becomes entertaining. No eating in the bedroom. I mean, if I told most people that they could not eat in their bedroom anymore, they go, I don't want to live.
He's on the road more than 300 days a year, drawing crowds at events such as his T-shirt donation to Planet Hollywood, and later that evening at a book signing.
Hi, Monica. Monica, this is Paulette. We're crying here together at the bookstore, and she's lost 60 pounds. Look, 64. Monica. Oh, excuse me, 64.
And it's here you see why Richard continues to draw them in.
God bless you. God bless you. I pray for you every day.
With all of the craziness, Richard Simmons offers hope and encouragement to those he thinks need it the most.
How'd you do today? Isn't that great? You could try better for tomorrow. We have this thing in our country, this good and bad thing. If you overeat, I'm bad. If you eat well, I'm good. And for 25 years now, you cannot, I say to people, you cannot judge yourself. You're not good or bad. Did you rob a 7-Eleven? Did you kill someone? Did you hurt someone? You know, those things are bad. And you should clean up those habits. But because you overeat, because you're overweight, does not make you a bad person.
He doesn't let folks off the hook as much as he reminds them to distinguish between food and emotion. After all, the self-professed food addict says he's always fighting the battle, whether he's heavy or thin.
You gotta learn yourself. You gotta, you know, have somebody guide you, but it's really up to you to say, well, this is it. I'm not gonna look like Cindy Crawford. You know, I thought when I lost all this weight, I was going to be 6 feet tall with blonde hair and blue eyes, and I was going to date a cheerleader. And none of that really happened. I just became a healthier Richard Simmons.
Richard says he's studying to get into medical school. If accepted, he plans to be, what else? A fat doctor. I'll be right back.